Hey guys, welcome back to another week on Mac Outdoors with Mia and Lea. We're happy that you're here, and we hope that you will subscribe and share our podcast with your friends. Any love is always appreciated. Last week we talked to you about hunting and trips and where to go and a little bit of gear, and then we both took off on a couple of trips ourselves. Stay tuned and we'll give you a recap on a camping adventure as well as some trips out of state.
This summer, whether you're at the range or in the field, WSI Sports' Hypertech bamboo tanks, tees, and leggings will have you covered. Visit WSISports.com and use Leah's affiliate code, LLCO10, for 10% off your purchase. All products are proudly made in the USA. WSI is bringing back pride in American-made clothing. Again, that code is LLCO10 for 10% off your order at WSISports.com.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Mac Outdoors podcast, where a dynamic mother-daughter duo share their adventures, tips, and advice. I am Mia, and I'll be accompanied by the one and only daughter, Lea. It is time to get to outdoors, hunt, shoot, and spend time with family and friends. Let's get this show on the road.
So Lea, tell us all about your camping trip. Did you have any cool adventures, or what was the most fun thing or the most boring thing? Tell us all about it.
Well, it wasn't too eventful of a camp trip. A bunch of us just drove out to a little Forest Service camp spot in the mountains, and the drive was beautiful. And of course, all the views out there are beautiful. The mountains were just green with all the vegetation, since it's spring. It was so beautiful.
It is pretty spectacular this time of year, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, and so did you you told us about some rain gear. Did you end up having to use your rain gear?
Luckily, I didn't have to use any of my rain gear, but I did use my awesome bedroll. It was so nice to have that instead of sleeping on the ground. Everyone was so jealous of me when I could just jump out of bed and was ready to go, where everyone else was sore from sleeping on all those rocks.
Oh, that is hilarious. Did anyone there, and to you, our listeners, if you want to hear about the gear and stuff that we talked about, we'll put a link below in our show notes, and you can link back to episode 19. But Lea, as far as the gear that we didn't discuss, what kind of stuff did the people you camped with have? Was there anything cool that you hadn't seen before that maybe we should add to our gear list?
I think I came more prepared than everyone else that was there. I had all the cool gear everyone else wanted, and everyone else just had the ratty old sleeping bag and their little bitty tent. But I had my awesome bedroll, I had rain gear, I had my awesome hiking shoes.
And tell us, what kind of hiking shoes? We didn't talk about that last week. What kind of hiking shoes do you like?
I am pretty weird about hiking shoes, boots in general. I actually don't wear hiking boots. I have never found a pair that I've liked. The only pair that I wear if need be are my Girls with Guns Huntress boots. They are a perfect fit and they're not too bulky, because that's my biggest thing is I hate bulky boots. And especially for me, I have little skinny feet, so a lot of the time they're too wide and my feet just end up with blisters, and it's just not good.
Right, and so to you, our listeners, this is a key thing for hiking or camping or hunting is take care of your feet, because once you blow out your feet, it's no fun, right?
Right.
So Leah's talking about these shoes because she has had a lot of difficulty finding comfortable shoes, but also some of the lace-up hunting boots, like some that I like, they tend to aggravate her ankles. So you don't want chafing on your ankles or blisters on your feet. And so Lea, tell us about the shoes that you do wear. Which ones did you find that you absolutely love?
My absolute favorite hiking shoes are my Salomons, and they're Gore-Tex waterproof, and they're just like running shoes. They are only on your, below your ankle, and they keep my feet dry. I wore them all archery elk season, and I wore them all on the fall deer hunts we went on, and they were amazing. And everyone thinks I'm crazy for wearing them, but I've never gotten cold feet. All I do is I wear gaiters over them because of the snow. I don't want them to go inside my socks and stuff like that.
Right. And so speaking of cold feet, Lea does, as she mentioned, she switches over to those Girls with Guns hunting boots that have been really comfortable for her. So there is that trade-off. But it seems like last year we had a lot of rain. So we didn't really need a lot of insulated boots, right? I mean, those Solomons came in really handy.
They were they're a lot nicer, and they actually make you a lot more mobile, where, like she mentioned, I like my ankles to be free, so to speak. I don't like high boots over my ankles. I like to be able to be mobile and all of that, because I like to run if I need to, climb rocks if I need to. I know they were pretty awesome when I was shooting ptarmigan in the rocks up above timberline, and they were awesome to do that with.
Yeah, and Lea doesn't have any ankle problems as of yet, so that is a bonus. If you're looking for hiking boots or hunting boots and you have weak ankles or have strained them or something, you maybe want something with more support around your ankles. It's all about personal preference, so keep that in mind when you're out shopping. And so, Lea, tell us anything else exciting on that camping trip up in the high country?
Well, the exciting but not so exciting thing was I got a flat tire on my truck, and so I had to have the dilemma of changing it the first time, and I've only had this truck for about 2 months, so I wasn't too familiar with everything on my truck. Luckily, I had my dad there to help me out. I could have done it by myself, but of course
wait. I have to stop you right there, because I have taught Lea how to change a tire. And you've watched me and helped me change a tire twice. So I was kind of hoping when I saw this picture, Lea texted me this picture of, a tire iron and a tire. And I was kind of hoping that Lea was the one changing the tire finally, but no. Tell us what happened.
Like I was saying, I had my dad there with me, and of course he did it all for me, which I could have done it. I've done it with my mom before on my other truck and I've watched her, but I don't know. I just didn't feel like getting in the dirt that day.
Way to work it, I guess.
Yes.
One of these days you're going to have to do it on your own. That's all I've got to say.
Yes. That was probably all the excitement we had.
Yeah. Did you have any, campfires? Campfires are so fun. And Lea someday maybe will tell us stories about her and fire, but not really at the camp, but other places. But anyways, that's another story. So let me get back to what we're talking about. Campfires. Everybody loves roasting hot dogs. Everybody loves roasting marshmallows. Did you guys have any fun marshmallow roasting? Did you have s'mores?
We did. Me and my sister roasted marshmallows together, and we made the ultimate s'more, which I highly recommend to anyone. We took the basics, graham crackers, and marshmallow and chocolate. And then, while we were digging through all the stuff that we brought camping, we found a banana. And then we took part of the banana and roasted it with the marshmallow, not on the same stick, but roasted them both, and then put them on the graham cracker with the chocolate, and it was to die for. And it was so good. And I'm not anyone that actually likes bananas, but that was the most amazing s'more I've ever had.
Yeah, and so I had to draw that out of Lea because she truly isn't a huge banana fan, but she told me about this s'more and it made my mouth water. Like, I was like, that sounds really good. So it's good. Something that maybe you guys, if you've tried that before, or let us know, comment on our social media or send us some messages. We have links in the show notes as always. But tell us, what are your favorite campfire s'more conglomerations, because I know of a few that are pretty crazy and then some that were really good. And didn't you also put bacon on one or something? Did you guys do that?
Not this time, but I know a couple, probably a few summers ago, we made one with bacon and we made one with fried catfish. And that
was
actually good. That was a good one.
Yeah, the catfish one actually had to do with a friend of ours that was visiting from Oklahoma and brought he brought catfish and fried it up, and somehow or another it ended up in a s'more, and yeah, everybody liked it.
It was good.
Oh, I guess marshmallows and chocolate can do wonders for anything. Wow.
Pretty much.
So after the camping trip, you headed on another trip. Why don't you tell us about this next trip you went on?
Yes, I was so busy. I got home that Sunday, and then I had to pack up and head out that next Thursday, and I flew down to Dallas for the Young Women's Leadership Summit in Dallas. And that was such an amazing experience. I was kind of nervous to go at first because I was going by myself. This was the first time I've gone on a trip out of state by myself. My mom didn't fly with me. I flew by myself. Did it all myself. So I was like, oh, I can do it, but I was slightly nervous.
Yeah, and Lea has flown without me before, but this is the first time without her friends or other family members. It was completely 100% solo.
Yes.
So your first solo trip, any scary moments, anything that caused anxiety in the travels?
There was. I know my ticket the first day, I was the last one aboard the plane because they were taking forever to get me a seat. So I was like, what if I don't make the plane? What if, I was panicking, but I knew it was going to be okay. But then once we landed, I was supposed to meet a lady from Shoot Like a Girl, and we were traveling together. And so Shoot Like a Girl sponsored me to go to this event. They contacted me just a few weeks before the event and asked if I would like to go, if I was interested. And of course, I'm not going to turn down an awesome opportunity to network and just to learn more about things that would involve me in college. So I was supposed to meet one of the Shoot Like a Girl women there at the airport because she was getting in roughly the same time I was. Well, it turns out her flight was delayed because of rain and thunderstorms. And so I was all by myself, and she wasn't getting in till like 3 or 4 hours after I landed. So I had to look up how to get to my hotel, and luckily it was part of the airport, so they had a shuttle, which was really nice. I didn't have to be going in a taxi or somewhere by myself.
Trucked across Dallas or anything.
Yeah, so I had to figure out how to find the shuttle. Then when I was waiting, where they have you wait is like in the middle of this like shady parking garage, and it's like hotel vans is their little sign. And I was all by myself. I'm wearing a dress and high heels because I didn't know like when events were starting, if I was going to be late to an event or anything. I just wanted to be prepared. And I had my little suitcase and my computer bag, and I was like, I'm so scared right now because I'm by myself. I don't know anyone. Like, everyone there is just kind of looking like, what's this girl doing? Like,
what's happening?
Yeah, I was so worried. And I was like, just be aware. I kept looking around, checking behind me, like keeping an eye on people and stuff like that. And then shortly after, the shuttle arrived, and then got to my hotel, and there were girls everywhere.
Oh gosh.
So at this event, it's hosted by Turning Point USA, and it is a group of young Republicans, basically conservative libertarians, the basic group. There were over 1,000 girls there at this event, and this is only their 3rd annual leadership summit that they've had. And they said their first year they had maybe 50 people, next year they had maybe 100, and boom, this year they had 1,000 people there. So
that's incredible.
There were just girls everywhere, and I was like, well, I think I'm in the right place. But I got all checked in, and what was really cool is they make you room with other girls that are at the event, so you're not by yourself. So I got to make a few new friends by rooming with other people. One of my roommates was from Washington, and the other was from Arizona. So there were people from all over. I met people from Tennessee, from Montana, Colorado, all over the place.
Very cool. And I know they had a lot of speakers there. I mean, basically you listen to speakers nonstop, right?
Yes.
So tell me about a few of the highlighted speakers. Like, what were your favorite, or who were some of the ones that were most anticipated?
There were so many speakers there, and I was so glad I got to go and see all of them and hear what they had to say. Some of the big names and the ones that I loved listening to is, of course, Tomi Lahren. I'm a huge fan of her, and sadly, they were having a meet and greet with Tomi, and I was so excited. I was like, oh my gosh, I get to meet, like, I'm such a huge fan. You know, I got to fangirl about it. And her flight was delayed and she couldn't come, and I was so sad. But she did get to speak and got to see her do all her ranting and all of that. And it was really cool to see her in person. And then another huge one was Carly Fiorina. Mm-hmm. She did an awesome speech, and it was really cool to hear her story, which I had never really done research on her or anything like that. So that was cool.
Awesome.
And another huge one, she's one of our good friends, but it was still cool to see her speak, was Kim Corbin.
Yeah, and I haven't seen her speak either. We've just, as Leah said, she's a friend of ours, so we chat with her. But according to Leah, this presentation was just phenomenal, right?
It was amazing. It was just like, she made you feel like how she felt. Like, it was just a very, like, dramatic speaking, but it was spot on with everything, and it really made you, like, think about, you know, how to protect yourself and why you're fighting for the cause to have the right to carry a firearm and stuff like that.
Right. And so let me stop you for just a second, because Leah, you just said that you were in an empty parking garage by yourself. You're not old enough to carry a firearm, yes. And I know there are other means of defense you can carry, but some of that is, for those of you, our listeners who don't know, Kim Corbin is a rape survivor. And if you'll look her up, I'll actually put a link to her story in our show notes as well, but you can read that. And these instances are why there's a lot of fight to keep our firearms rights and, you know, the constitutional carry and, you know, the concealed carry reciprocity among the states. That's why it's such a big issue, is because of people with their stories like Kim Corbin's. And thankfully, Leah managed okay in this parking garage, but I do have other friends who had really bad incidents in parking garages. So this is something, if you're ever, you know, you have these issues on the ballot, you need to really keep this in the back of your mind. There's a lot of young ladies and men too. We all need to be able to defend ourselves. So sorry to go off on a little rabbit chaser hole over there again, but I just wanted to say that to our listeners. Like, do some research, check out Kim Corbin's story. It's really a great one, and she's fighting for a good cause.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so overall, this event, I had no clue what I was getting into. I didn't really know who all the speakers were. I did know that Tomi was going to be there before I went, so I was like, of course I have to go. But it was a very political event. Everyone I met there was involved in their student government. They were leaders of their TPUSA. You know, they were all very successful ladies, and they were all in college. A lot of the girls there were from sophomore year of college to just graduated. It was age range from 18 to 24, 25. There were also high schoolers there that are involved in, they've created a Republican group at their high school, which I know at ours, like, that was never a big deal. Like, no one ever cared about politics. We didn't have Republicans and Democrats really at high school. So it was really cool to see all those girls involved. And what's even cooler was the youngest girl there was in 6th grade.
Oh, wow.
And she's creating her own TPUSA group at her school, which was just amazing to me that at such a young age she's getting involved. And really, like, most people are like, well, I can't vote, I don't care.
Right. And so what is your suggestion for parents? Should they send their kids, or kids, should you ask your parents to send you? Would you recommend it?
In my opinion, I think if you like politics, if you're really involved in it, I would highly recommend you look into it. I like politics, I like knowing, but I'm not someone who wants to be involved really in student government. I'm not a big debater and stuff like that. I mean, I am Republican, I do support it, and I look at all those issues and current events, stuff like that, but I learned a lot about, like, how my views are and how others are, and so I do recommend it if you're going to study politics, if you want to be a journalist and talk about politics. I know Laura Ingraham was an awesome speaker too. That was there, and she was so inspiring too, and I don't want to be just like her, but it was really cool to hear her story as well. Well, enough about my crazy weekend, but my mom also is traveling. So, Mom, tell us about your weekend.
So, let me talk about my journey. I actually left before Lea left to Dallas. I drove. I had a road trip, and speaking of concealed carry and reciprocal states and stuff like that, I was able to bring my RM380 with me and have a little added sense of security at the gas stations and hotels and stuff like that while I was traveling. But I headed south to Shreveport, Louisiana, to the Professional Outdoor Media Association's conference. And it's an annual event that's held in a different location every year. But this year it was in Shreveport, and although Lea and I have hunted in southern Louisiana, I'd never spent any time in Shreveport, and I guess I can kind of say I've barely spent some time because I spent some time in a hotel. The convention center actually was attached to the hotel, so we spent several days there. I'm on the board of directors now for the Professional Outdoor Media Association, which is also known as POMA, and we had our board meetings, and then we had meet and greets and met a lot of different writers, videographers, and a lot of different people in the media industry. But I also wanted to talk to you, since you were talking about camping. I found a lot of cool camping stuff that I really want to try. Some of it I've gotten to try, and some of it I'll try in the future, but I'll put some links in the show notes for you guys if you want to look these items up. One of them I found is a little bladder tube, and it's called the Survivor's Reservoir, and it holds water and it's flexible, so once it's empty, you can roll it up. It's kind of like the bladders that you put in your backpack, but it also has a filtration system you can attach to it. So when we're up in the high country, we can actually just get water from the creek and you can filter it. So that was kind of cool. I want to try this one because I'm curious as to how it will fare in my saddlebags.
Yeah. That's the ultimate test for everything.
Yeah, because, I mean, it's made of durable, I'll have to look up the specifics on the plastic that's made for the soft bladders, but I want to see if it'll survive my saddlebags. Another thing that was really cool is a camp chair that sat kind of low to the ground like our Crazy Creek chairs. But you didn't sit on the ground, you were raised off of the ground, and it's called an Alps Ready Light Low Chair, and they also had a table. But the chair was really cool because I know some of the camp chairs that we have, it's like you're sitting on the ground, and after a while your back starts to hurt, and because the ground is hard even if you do have a backrest. So that's one I want to try. And then, Lea, something that you didn't mention from your camping trip was cruising around in the back roads in the hills. Right? And you got to take your truck and go four-wheeling a little bit.
Yes.
My friend Laura and I took off in a Honda Pioneer, and it was actually a ton of fun because Laura had never even been in a four-wheeler. much less drove one. And so Laura has a lead foot, so we were going like 40 through these backwoods trails in Shreveport, and Laura's like taking these corners at 40 miles an hour, and it was actually really cool because that Honda Pioneer had never ridden in one of those. I've ridden into the Polaris and Yamahas, but it just like you were going fast enough where you thought maybe that it should tip or at least the wheels should come off the ground, and it never did. So I was pretty impressed with that little four-seater.
Well, she was really just putting it to the test.
Right? She was. That's what riders do. That's what people in the outdoors do. Outdoor riders and videographers and stuff, that's when we're field testing, we put it to the test.
Go all out.
I'll tell you one thing that I didn't go completely all out on, but I did kind of push it to the limits was I drove the brand new Toyota Tacoma, or I'm sorry, I have a Tacoma. I drove the Toyota Tundra, and we drove those down by the like swampy areas, and the gentleman that rode with me from Toyota, he was kind of like, oh, just go down here and make a U-turn and come back. And I was like, what? Like, where we went was you go off the pavement and then on the dirt and you make a U-turn on the dirt. And I was like, well, that wasn't very exciting. So I decided to take it a little further, and we went out toward the swampy water, and I could tell he was a little nervous. Did get the tires to spin a little bit and put it in four-wheel drive and then drove right out. So that was a little exciting, but I also didn't want to bury it in the swamp because I didn't want to have to buy it. So there's those disclaimers. And Lea, the Nissan Titans were also there, the one with the big camp tent, but also the Ram that you drove at SHOT Show last January. Why don't you tell our listeners about that kind of fun?
That was amazing. Of course, at SHOT Show, we go to range day, and it was really windy and kind of chilly. And I was like, I don't want to be out here in the wind and being cold. And we see the Ram booth, and of course, we're like, well, there we go, how to get out of the wind. But we drove.
And you have to tell people, though, so we want to get out of the wind, we get in the truck, but Lea at the time had a Dodge Ram 3500. So this is a big old ranch truck, four-door with a big rusty old flatbed. I mean, she has a huge truck, a standard transmission, and that was Leah's first rig. So here she is at SHOT Show, and the Ram guy says, hey, want to drive this brand new Ram? So that is where the story starts. And then she gets in and...
Well, and of course the guy is thinking, oh, these dainty little girls have never been in a big truck, and we're like, oh yeah, I have this big truck, and he was like, whoa, like, well, maybe they do know what they're doing. And we're like, of course, our first question, does it come in standard? Because I know my new truck I got, I had to make sure it had standard transmission because I like that. But we get in this truck, and he's like telling us where to go and chatting us up, and then we get to one spot, and he's like, oh yeah, go to the right. And I was like, the right? And left is like down and kind of rough, and he's like, right. And right is literally a straight up climb. And I was like, are you sure? And he's like, oh yeah, like, just seemed so relaxed about it. And then we're like going, and the tires like aren't even like spinning, like it just crawled right up the hill. And I was like, oh, I like this one.
Yeah, it was really impressive because even though Leah's like four-wheel drive, it's kind of been like necessity when we're going to hunt and stuff like that. And you've never done hill climbs. Like, this was like stuff that we see our cousins do in their Jeeps.
Yeah. Well, and the truck like automatically did everything. It's not like you had to like stop, put in a four-wheel, and then go. It like did it all for you and like got the traction going and everything. So I was really impressed with how it went. And when it went downhill too, it wasn't like your brakes how they do when you go downhill. Mm-hmm. They were like really relaxed, and just like the brakes almost like did themselves, like
without having that anti-lock grinding kind of ratchety thing.
Yeah, it was really cool.
That's awesome. So I didn't drive the Ram because we'd already been in the Ram, but that was some fun while we were at POMA. And then we also, the day before that day was POMA camps. And so if you on social media, you can look up the hashtag POMA camps and you can find some pictures from other people that were there. But we also had range day the day prior to that and shot a bunch of different guns. One of my favorites, which I also saw during the corporate sponsors during their products days, it was from Crossman, and it was an air pistol, and it's a revolver. It's a Remington 1875, but it's an air gun. So it was so cool because the actual ammunition you put in there, it looks like true cartridges, and then you put a little pellet in the back where like a primer would be, and you put it in there, and then so that was really cool. It was totally crazy to shoot that air gun and have like no recoil. So that was pretty cool. And then another one that was a favorite, I shot some really cool ones at Brownell's, but my absolute favorite was one from McCree's Precision, and those are all custom, and they have Remington 700 short actions in them. But the gun that I shot, I was shooting golf balls, literally golf balls, at 200 meters and just bouncing these golf balls, and it was so cool. This McCree's Precision rifle had actually been to Afghanistan twice and actually has confirmed kills behind this gun, but it was so accurate that it was amazing. And hopefully in the future, we'll get to go to a long-range shooting school with McCree's and learn some more about it and get to shoot more guns and maybe someday even build one. That would be a lot of fun to build one. And Brownell's supplies all kinds of parts and actions for it. And so someday, that's a dream of mine. And other than that, really the big fun, just like when we go to SHOT Show and stuff, my favorite thing was the people. And Lea was over at this conservative convention in Dallas, which is only 3 hours away from Shreveport. And I was really wishing that she was with me at the POMA conference, because this year there were a lot of young people there, the young writers and videographers, and even from some of the suppliers and vendors, some of the sponsors were younger age brackets. So Lea missed out this year, but I had to, eventually I found some of Lea's cards in my bag and I started passing them out to all these youngsters because I'm like, you guys would just love my daughter and you guys totally be friends. So that was the fun. So in the future, we'll be sharing more products and other things like that. And we also have some trips coming up. It is summertime, and we'll be talking about fishing trips, maybe some more...
Maybe some hunting trips that I have in the works.
Yeah, maybe Lea has some hunting trips in the works. We'll have to learn more about that. I don't even know about this. So we hope that you'll keep listening. Stay tuned, because we'll have a lot of good advice and fun for you.
Thanks for listening, guys. We love you so much. And be sure to share our podcast with everyone so we can make more people laugh and smile and make them even smarter in the woods.
And get outdoors.
Yes.
See you next week.
Bye.